Hello, beautiful ones. This is Eliza Kendall, coming to you from Bundjalung country in Australia. It's the 27th of August 2020. This is a weekly spirit report, holding the intention to pass on information from any of the spirits I communicate with throughout the week, or any that want to speak with me at the time. Only those with positive intentions and appropriate information for our evolution are permitted to come into contact with me and speak with me and through for us. So awesome. Okay. It's still pretty hectic, hey? So this week, really noticing this interesting chronology. How, certainly at the beginning of the year, the guidance was really clear to fine-tune our mastery, to fine-tune our discernment, to gather a deeper understanding of our intuitive guidance, our heart-mind intelligence, to also gather an understanding of how we're using our power, our energy, our life force. Not only how we are mismanaging it in the way of manipulating others in certain ways, but also how we are losing and where and when we are losing our energy. There's been lots of work clearing contracts, retrieving soul fragments, etc., over this time for the whole year, right? And so there's been this kind of bringing back of the energy, as well as this discerning what lens we see things through. Discerning, are we seeing things through here? Are we seeing things through here? Are we seeing things through here, which, is fear? I'm pointing my solar plexus, also, sometimes my emotional body. Also sometimes, within my DNA. Or am I seeing things through here, my heart space, where there is no fear? Also, this is the highest intelligence where your intuition sits, let's say. Your heart's intelligence is the intuition's communicator. It is the brain that communicates with your intuition, as well as your guides also, of course, use your intuition to communicate with you. But so, yeah, really building these capacities within us, as well as really mastering noticing our placement, where we are in the world, taking time to pay attention to limiting beliefs, taking time to look back at the self, comparing the self to the self only. This has also come up in the last few months, looking at the self and reframing any trauma, any pain, any issues quite quickly into lessons, understanding the lessons so that we can move out of that fear-based paradigm. But what I've really noticed is that, first it was about really going within and really discerning who we were, what we do, what we don't do, and kind of making choices that are in the now moment, updating our systems, updating what it is that we feel we contribute, the way that we are of service, our purpose, our place, our position in the world. Where do we stand is what we've all been trying to figure out. And so what I've noticed now that, as we've all kind of done that and we've decided where we stood and where we stand, it is creating this, of course, vast polarity. And the polarity is, pretty intense, but a wonderful place to be, because it is required in order to allow space between the two extremes, to understand what is in between, because that is inevitably the place that we are going. Essentially the entire planet has been in this intense state of polarity the whole time. It's just that they haven't been quite at the surface so that we can really see them and kind of really stew around in them in a very conscious way. What I'm now noticing is that what is being called for and what is being pointed to me from the spirits is to, of course, pay attention to the grey areas, to pay attention to what it is in between. But more than that, to, stand on one side in your, your position of rightness, where, your moral code sits, where your beliefs are, to stand and say, I believe in this thing, and I am not moving on that belief because I've thought about it, I'm intelligent, I've considered it, and here's what it is I've decided I believe. So I'm going to stand here, and I see you standing all the way over there, and you believe what you believe, and you're so far away from me that I find it really hard to understand what you're even banging on about. And so it's too hard, and I'm just going to turn to the rest of the people that are on my side. and I'm just going to focus on them, and I'm going to block everyone else, and I'm not going to give any attention to what's going on down there, because it's sort of far too at the other end of the scale, right? And to be honest, I'm doing this too. I agree with this. I'm not interested in the extreme of the other end, so I don't really want to look at that. But what I'm noticing is the importance of us finding ourselves in this position is to now look in the grey areas, and not only look in the grey areas, to accept that there are grey areas, to acknowledge that that is also truth, and that everything between that stance and that stance is truth, because it's all happening at the same time on the planet. So to also, have space between, and to then look at the grey area, you begin to find pathways and stepping stones to understanding one another. We're not expected to leap from my position of belief into your position of belief like that with a couple of articles or a couple of discussions. But what we can do is take a couple of steps towards one another, or a couple of steps towards the grey, even if we don't want to go towards one another because we're so turned off by what it is that you believe. Can we just kind of, I want to say, dissolve a little. Dissolve the barriers of righteousness just a little, so that we can just experience what it is to be in the grey. That beautiful Rumi quote, I love it so much. I've had it on my wall many, many times for many, many years. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. I've contemplated this for years and years and years. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck this means and how I can possibly find this field. I figured it was in my heart space, and it's a pretty good space to go. But what I'm now realizing is I can find that field of serenity, of peace, of calm, of acceptance for all, of unity within my heart. But can I find it in this 3D, 4D world? Because I'm not really going to be able to create a higher dimensional reality if I can't find it here. So what I'm noticing is that we've been spending all this time getting clear about who we are, shedding the kind of old stuff, noticing where we're losing energy, noticing how we're misusing our own life force and other people's life forces as well, and the extremes of that. And then we're noticing where we stand compared to where other people stand, and then we're noticing that there's some space in between. And what's going on in that space? And maybe I want to have a little look in that space. And so can we now take actions that are not so extreme, that are not so polarized? When we want to make or take the polarized stance, can we instead find something that's a little bit less extreme? Because the extremes are being fed, the extremes are being manipulated, the polarization is being intensified for agendas that are not about our growth and evolution. So I'm just wondering if we can contemplate and consider a world that is not one extreme or the other, but is in fact a blend of, let's say, the dark and the light, or the right and the wrong, or the just and the unjust, or perhaps a harmonious, comfortable, peaceful, win-win blend of understandings, of perspectives. Because to me, that's how we create the new systems, right? We have those that stand right in the old and right in, what we kind of think is like the old kind of dying system, and those that are like so moving forward into the new systems that it's like completely unrelatable to those in the old systems. And so we're going to have to find something in between in order to actually birth it into the world. So I've been thinking about this as well. And so anyway, I felt called to share that with you. For whatever that means. Yeah, for whatever that means, I'm making a choice to not sort of contribute to the polarization so much, particularly on social media. Hopefully this post does not do that. I'm putting a barrier around it so it doesn't do that. And instead just, allow ourselves to... I just actually want to say to breathe up, to come up out of that lower vibrational field, which is where you sit. You know, if you are trying to be right, if you are holding on to any desire whatsoever to be right, you're not in the flow path, you're not in the graceful path, you're not in the field of most potentiality. It's just physics, you know. So it's like, yeah, let's come out of the conflict and restriction already, but I recognize it needs to be here so that we can understand the information that's between, and I'm grateful for that. Okay, let's see if these honey bunnies, they seem to be cool. I've never called them that before. Any spirit a honey bunny, usually reserved for humans. Okay, all right, someone's finding that amusing. Let's see what it is they'd like to share. I have a couple of questions in my mind as well as what I've mentioned, if they have anything. Okay, thank you. We are curious about some of the ways you are interpreting things, particularly at this moment, at this time, when there is a change in the interpretation of things. We are very interested in the way you frame things with your mind, and therefore the way that you update the understanding of that which you are looking at according to the framing. And we are finding this something that is quite interesting, because we are noticing that it is having an impact on some where they are very quickly coming to the idea and the concept that the extremities, as already been said, the extremities are not the easiest way forward. They are simply not the path to unity, of course. The division is not pathways to unity. Further separation is not pathways to unity. And so we're, of course, advocates of you moving closer and closer to spaces where you can find understanding, finding ways to communicate to one another that is conflict resolutionary with reverence would be wonderful. We are always supportive of that way of connecting and communicating, empathizing with one another, most certainly, holding a space of curiosity instead of the barriers that are created through judgment and categorization, most certainly. Very helpful. We also encouraging always for you to take great care of the self continuously, and paying great attention, giving a good attention, good quality attention is what we are speaking of here, giving good quality attention to your bodies, your every bodies, your energy, your mind, your physical form, your emotional, your spiritual, really paying attention to yourself and noticing when a misalignment is occurring and ceasing communication when you are misaligned, and realigning yourself into a state of, well, yes, head-heart harmony, absolutely, most certainly, to a state where you feel comfortable and knowing and clear within yourself. Then communicate what it is that you are perceiving, for that will be far more effective. Oh, that was to the point. Cool, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that. I wasn't willing to say that, so I love it when they just say it more effectively and efficiently than me, my current state right now, whatever that may be. Okie dokie. I'm going to leave it there. So, not really up to me. The collaborative environment, hang on a second. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have a reasonably persistent reminder from the nature spirits who have spoken to many times to play as much as possible. Even if you can't be in nature, nature spirits will come to you. Play with them whenever you can, speak with them, imagine them, work with them, journey with them, have a ceremony with them, have tea with them, dream with them, skip with them, dance with them, play in the garden, speak to them through your pot plants. They're cuties. All right. Lots of love to you. This is Eliza. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for being all the things, the full spectrum of all the things. What a crazy dynamic, complicated, beautiful world this is. And I love that you're in it. Thank you for that. Talk to you soon.